Here in Indianapolis, the night before they smoked the Colts, the 49ers gathered in their hotel room at the JW Marriott or in the hotel ballroom because there's a lot of 49ers. They wouldn't all fit in one room. And they watched the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Detroit Lions to clinch San Francisco's playoff berth. It was a moment of celebration for this 49ers team that obviously meant a lot practically, but I think meant a whole lot symbolically as well. And then they followed it up with the emphatic win over the Colts last night, featuring the best quarterback play in the NFL. Brock Purdy ranks number one across essentially every single advanced metric, and that was the highest graded game of any NFL quarterback this season. That's what that game featured last night. And it featured an adherence to formula that can carry the 49ers a long way, potentially to a Super Bowl title. In fact, they only need to win 5 straight home games. They may not have to go on the road again in order to hoist the Lombardi Trophy. Anyway, let's take you inside the 49ers locker room where Kyle Shanahan started with reference to the 49ers clinching of a playoff berth on Sunday night. The team obviously then punctuated that with its victory on Monday.
Hey, guy, hey, so proud of everyone in this room, man. Hey, we found out last night we got into the playoffs, all right? We were pumped up, and all you guys did was come out today, be a better team, play that much harder. Guys, we're going to get better every week, man. Love everybody here. It was awesome. A few people I want to single out real quick, man. Like, it took everybody, guys. And D. Winters, you finishing off like that. Hey, D, now you got the pick six, but the drive before I was watching you, they ran a lookie. You shut them down, and that's when we had that sack fumble for about a 20-yard line. So, back to back. Hey, and not too bad of a day. 5 touchdowns. All right, bring it in, man.
Oh, hey, man, get here tight. Hey, listen, bro. We just got to keep stepping in the right direction, man. Hey, tunnel vision. I know we got the holidays. That's cool. We working right now. Tunnel vision. Everybody just worry about Chicago, worry about Seattle, then we try to get in that dance, man. Let's do it. Let's go now. Niners on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Niners! Tunnel vision. I really emphasized that in my article up on the San Francisco Standard. You can see the headline right here on the Standard. The 49ers are 5 home wins away from a Super Bowl title, but they refuse to peek ahead. However, I will say, and you saw a peek into that locker room right there, I will say that there was this undercurrent of euphoria in the locker room that I had not sensed yet this season. Even after the Rams win, Week 5 at SoFi, that extremely improbable victory with a skeleton crew, I did not see the smiles. I did not sense it's almost like a dreamlike energy that I felt in that 49ers locker room here in Indianapolis last night. I think it was George Kittle's Bluetooth speaker, but I can't be sure. It was bumping Simon and Garfunkel, Mrs. Robinson in the locker room. Kendrick Bourne was obviously happy about earning his $500,000 bonus. Assistant coaches were hanging around a little bit longer than they usually hang around. People were just soaking it in as the 49ers moved to 11-4. I think that there's just this realization that the 49ers are in a special moment of time. They are not a flawless football team. I think everyone understands that. There were serious defensive problems, especially over the course of the first 2 Colts drives yesterday. But the 49ers have the top quarterback in football. I mean, it is time for people to stop pretending that Brock Purdy is anything less than that. And, case in point right here, QBR following yesterday's game. Brock Purdy is the number 1 QBR in the league. This is an all-encompassing stat that's going to account for down and distance, that's going to account for scrambling, that's going to account for clutch situations, quality of opposing defense faced. Purdy is the leader by a wide amount in QBR. He has been number 1 in QBR in 2 of the past 3 seasons. He was number 1 in 2023 as well. And he dropped down to only number 7 last year when everything collapsed around him. This year, it has not been a perfect setup by any stretch of the imagination for Brock Purdy. He didn't have his top 2 wide receivers in Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall yesterday, yet Brock lit the world on fire. He threw 6 touchdown passes in all effect for the 49ers. There's more. We have a lot more where this comes from statistically. And this is the driving force for San Francisco's hopes moving forward. These are Brock Purdy's ranks across the board. Number 1 in expected points added per play. Number 2 in completion percentage over expectation. The only one better is Drake May of the New England Patriots, who's been historically accurate this season. But Purdy is closing the gap fast. Number 1 of all NFL quarterbacks in adjusted expected points added per play. Number 1 in the composite between EPA and CPOE, those 2 stats that I just listed. And number 1 in success rate. And shout out to Mac Jones, who's also in the top 4 of success rate for the 49ers. As you can see here, the XY chart, you want to be further to the right and further up. It's Purdy and Drake May at the very, very top. It gets even crazier when you start talking about third downs, and I'm going to put up the graphic in a little bit. Purdy remains on a different planet, a complete outlier. But I want to maintain a team-wide focus. Since Brock Purdy has returned, this is the team tier chart in the NFL. You want to be further to the right, further up, and the diagonal lines delineate different team tiers. The 49ers, after dispatching of the Colts last night, land at the very same spot as the Los Angeles Rams. So, I was droning on about this for weeks. Back when Mac Jones was the 49ers starting quarterback because Brock Purdy was on the shelf, the 49ers were around right here. They were probably roughly where the Detroit Lions are as a football team. Slightly above average offense, below average defense. And you guys remember all the tables that I put up there. My point was that the 49ers needed to move the offense to the elite levels of this graph. So they needed to move the offense to the very right of this graph. And they needed to find a way to stabilize the defense, to bring it up to at least the horizontal red line, bring it to average. And I said that when Brock Purdy returned and when the 49ers got some other guys back on offense, because he was an elite quarterback, they had a real chance to move to the very right extreme part of this graph. A lot of people doubted that, but look where they're at right now. The 49ers are literally the best offense in the NFL ever since Brock Purdy returned. They've also stabilized defensively, and this is something that we have to delve a little more deeply into. And we'll take a look at this team tier chart and break this down further in a second. But first, that defensive stabilization that we saw from the 49ers yesterday. This is a game that started off very poorly for them. D. Winters acknowledged this after the game. And I don't think it was the best look for Robert Saleh and the 49ers defense as a whole. They weren't ready for Indianapolis to throw downfield the way that they were throwing downfield. The very first play was a deep shot to Michael Pittman. The first 2 drives were filled with throws well over 10 air yards downfield. The week prior against the Seattle Seahawks in his return to the NFL, Phillip Rivers had attempted only 2 passes that traveled more than 10 air yards past the line of scrimmage. It was all dink and dunk against Seattle. And the 49ers figured that Phillip Rivers wouldn't be trying throws like that against them. They thought that it was going to be the same thing as the Seahawks. I warned over the course of the week that part of the reason, maybe most of the reason that Rivers was throwing short exclusively against the Seahawks was because he feared their pass rush. He had to get rid of the ball quickly. And the 49ers don't have the pass rush that Seattle does. In fact, they entered yesterday's game with the least sacks in the NFL, only 16 sacks on the season. So I thought that even though Rivers obviously doesn't have a whole lot of arm strength, I thought there was a real chance that he might try to push the ball downfield just because the 49ers don't get to the quarterback as quickly, because they're not as good in coverage at linebacker without Fred Warner because their safeties have been somewhat of a liability in coverage this year. And that's exactly what happened over the course of the first 2 drives. And the 49ers defensively were not prepared for it. But they made adjustments yesterday. And for everybody that's trying to pile on to the 49ers defense this morning, I encourage you to look at the statistics. The Colts over their first 2 drives ran 21 plays at 7.5 yards per play. That is a prodigious production. Any defense giving up 7.5 yards per play is going to get run out of any building in the NFL. But over their final 7 drives, the Colts averaged only 4.1 yards per play. They scored 14 points over the first 2 drives and then only 13 points over the final 7. 4.1 yards per play is downright stingy from the 49ers defense. There were a couple turning points in this game. One, CJ West pushing his way back into the quarterback for his first career sack, playing back in near his old stomping grounds. Remember that he starred at Indiana last year. There was Yetur Gross-Matos on that very same play. Only 18 snaps from Yetur, obviously on a pitch count in his return from the hamstring injury. But he created the pressure from the edge that forced Phillip Rivers to step up into CJ West, who backed the double team into his lap. Later in the game, there was Alfred Collins, fellow rookie of CJ West's, back the guard right up into Phillip Rivers, knocked the ball away from Rivers, and that was a big sack. The first career sacks for 2 49ers rookies. Both of those plays, I think, symbolized the stopping or the stoppage of defensive bleeding for the 49ers. Upton Stout played really, really well for San Francisco in this game. He made a lot of disruptive plays, a lot of pass breakups. He was part of the blitzing, more aggressive strategy that Robert Saleh employed, especially in that second half, as part of the adjustments to take away Phillip Rivers' ability to beat the 49ers further downfield. Either way, the proof is in the pudding. From 7.5 yards per play to 4.1 yards per play, the 49ers ultimately did enough to get the job done defensively. And that's why we can go back to the larger team tier chart, which will show us exactly where this team is as far as offense-defense combination goes. And the reason that they're above average over the course of the past month and a half is because the defense has indeed made adjustments when it's needed to make adjustments. They are not world beaters. It is still the weakness of this team. But at the level that they have delivered, it is enough to complement an elite offense. This is one of the luxuries associated with having an elite quarterback in Brock Purdy and a top-level offense. And also, you know, what's not included on this XY chart is the 49ers special teams, which quite literally for about 3+ quarters of yesterday's game was the difference. Jair Brown forced the fumble on the kick returner, Amir Abdullah, and then Jake Tonjes recovered it. Special teams has given the 49ers an edge that they did not have last year. And you know what? It's an edge that the other team, which is comparable to San Francisco here, the Rams, does not have. The Rams just fired their special teams coordinator because they're so bad in that phase of the game. I would almost venture to say that Jacksonville might be the more complete tier 1 team over the last month and a half. You could see Jacksonville up here. I would say that they might be the more complete tier 1 team by virtue of the fact that they can actually play special teams. Remember, they had a punt return for a touchdown to beat the 49ers back in week 4. So as we look forward, and I know that the 49ers have been adamant about taking this week by week, and that's what's allowed them to get to this point. It's been a process-oriented approach for San Francisco. They have not bit off more than they can chew, but we can look forward. I mean, 5 games ago, after the 49ers lost to the Rams, I said, you know, they're probably going to win the next 4, and then it's going to come down to Indianapolis, Chicago, and Seattle. It's my job to prognosticate. It's my job to illustrate where the 49ers need to get to from an efficiency perspective. And I said the 49ers can move all the way to the right of this chart or this graph, and they can move up. They could stabilize the defense. I drew those 3 color-coded arrows, remember? One went down and to the right, one went horizontally and to the right, one went up and to the right. The best case scenario was the one that went up and to the right. The 49ers have executed the best case scenario. They have positioned themselves as arguably the best team in the NFL. Now they will have a chance to prove that they're that, because there is no complete dominant team in this league. The Rams may have a great offense-defense combination, but the defense hasn't been playing as well as of late, and the special teams is terrible. The Seattle Seahawks, the 49ers' opponent in Week 18, the offense has not been nearly as good as of late. Look where the Seahawks are. Bottom half of the league offensively over the past month and a half. You know, the Seahawks, they managed only 18 points. They didn't manage a single touchdown at home against that Indianapolis Colts defense. And the Colts were also missing Sauce Gardner and Charvarius Ward, their top 2 corners, the week prior against Seattle. So the Seahawks didn't do anything offensively. They barely squeaked by a win. The 49ers put up 48 on the road against Indianapolis. 49ers scored 30 more points against the Colts than the Seahawks did. The Seahawks beat the Colts by 2. The 49ers beat them by 21. Again, Seattle had home field advantage. The 49ers didn't. Seattle's coming off of a massive win against the Rams. The Rams are arguably the best team in football. The 49ers are starting to put their name into those conversations, plain and simple. They have elevated the offense to a level that it needs to be at for that consideration, and now we'll see just how stable they can get that defense to be. I was very critical of the first 2 drives, especially for that defense yesterday. I thought that the 49ers were ill-prepared, and I think they essentially admitted that that was the case after the game. They did not think that Indianapolis was going to come out throwing the way that they did. 3rd and 16 or 3rd and goal from the 16, allowing a touchdown without a safety coming over to lay a hit on Alec Pierce, who was working a one-on-one against Darrell Luter Jr. That's inexcusable. You can't have that in that situation. It's 3rd and 16. You can essentially line 6 defensive backs up on a wall on the goal line and tell them nothing gets by you, and then just rally to everything in front of you. You could play prevent defense, and it would have been a better result than the one that the 49ers got on the play. For whatever reason, and I think the reason was the tape from Phillip Rivers the week before against the Seahawks, that they didn't think that he had the arm strength to do anything, to beat them more than 10 yards downfield. And that ended up being a grave mistake, because even though he didn't have a whole lot of arm strength, I compared it to a beer league softball pitcher striking out professional hitting because the pitches were just too slow. And you know, maybe it was more than beer league softball. Maybe it was somebody throwing Tim Wakefield throwing a crazy knuckleball that you know, a hitter in his physical prime just was not used to seeing. For whatever reason, the 49ers got burned by this time and time again over the first 2 drives. And then finally they took it seriously, and then they did shut down the Colts offense to enough over the rest of the game to 4.1 yards per play to truly set the table for their offense. So as we get this show going, I want everybody to head over to the San Francisco Standard. This is the article that I have up here from Indianapolis. I wrote this late last night. I think it was up to like 4 a.m. Eastern time. Like Brock Purdy, I have a little bit of a cold that doesn't stop me from this killer 49ers analysis after a killer performance from Purdy and company. The 49ers are 5 home wins away from a Super Bowl title. They refuse to peek ahead, but I'll tell you what, I was in that locker room, and there is starting to be a feeling of, how do I say it? It's a unique feeling. And I've been around winning locker rooms. I've been around 49ers teams that have gone on deep runs, that have won NFC title games. This one is different than all of those years. 2019 was really special, but there was a youthful exuberance there. They didn't have quite as many veteran A-list pillars in 2019, and they were dominant wire to wire in 2019. 2021 was a year where San Francisco, it was like a deadline pressure year. They were facing elimination, and they had to win a ton of those elimination games. So, I mean, that was an adrenaline rush in and of itself, but there was never a euphoria, a building euphoria in there. There was a euphoric relief for the 49ers after those crazy wins down the stretch of 2021. 2022 and 2023 were both just powerhouse dominant football teams. So this 2025 feeling is different. There has been a week by week overcoming of adversity, and it's been a process-oriented approach. They haven't been worried about the big picture. They've just been worried about getting through the week in front of them because, just by necessity, that they've had a younger team this year. They had to go back to the basics because they ran the roster reset over the offseason, but then so many injuries, so much adversity. When they left that game against Tampa Bay in week 6 after Fred Warner shattered his ankle, they couldn't afford to look to week 10. They couldn't afford to look to week 12. They weren't thinking about the Colts 3 days ahead of Christmas. They were thinking about the Falcons in week 7. Then they were thinking about the Texans in week 8. Then the Giants in week 9. And then the Rams in week 10. Then the Cardinals in week 11. I mean, it had to be a week-by-week focus. So there was tunnel vision. As we heard Trent Williams say in that video from the locker room, there was tunnel vision that has yielded an 11-4 record, the number 5 seed right now, but a clear shot, a controlling of their destiny for the 1 seed. And it's yielded this euphoric undercurrent in the locker room where guys are really starting to bounce off the walls because guys are feeling that their process-oriented approach, they've been chopping wood every single day. They've been adding 1 brick at a time every single day. They are starting to sense that it is building something special. And that's what I wrote about up on the San Francisco Standard. So if you want the best writing covering the 49ers, and I think you should hop on right now because this is turning into a magical run for San Francisco. Link is going to be in the description. I'm about to send it to Mike so he can toss it into the description. Go ahead and check that out. While you're here, everybody go and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We're going to be the first 49ers YouTube channel to 100,000 real subscribers. That means we're not paying for subscribers. So we actually have legitimate subs that watch our channel, which is why the views are kicking everyone else's ass. That's been very gratifying. You can be part of this by becoming a member or a subscriber or both. Be great if you actually did both. So hit that sub button as we drive toward 100,000. The channel, it's dominant. It's like Brock Purdy on 3rd and 4th down. Look at this. It's insane. It is certifiably insane that people have tried to detract from what Brock Purdy has been accomplishing over the past 3 years. Find Brock on here. I know I probably already spoiled it last week, but this is the updated version. This is following the most recent game. Purdy's positioning is only improved. Yes, he is way up here, just in case you didn't see him. It is Brock Purdy in a different solar system than all other quarterbacks in the NFL. This is 3rd down performance. The mobility, it's not just the mobility. It's not just the arm strength. Yesterday, he threw 4 touchdown passes outside the numbers on outbreaking routes, which is extremely rare. Only the very most elite quarterbacks in football have accomplished that in recent years. It's a list that includes Tom Brady and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I think Purdy's the 5th to do that. So, I mean, the arm strength is there. He's throwing outside the numbers. He's doing all that. The layered passes over the middle of the field where he feathers it over the safety or over the linebacker in front of the safety, those are there. The throws on the run are there. But the risk-reward calculator for Brock Purdy, maybe it needed a little bit of calibration after that 3-interception game against the Carolina Panthers. It is so dialed right now. He is in such a state of zen, such a state of peace, that he knows exactly when it's worth it to take a chance. He knows exactly when it's not worth it to take a chance. And then on top of everything, he's got that elite mobility. I mean, Kyle Shanahan was asked before the 2021 draft what his ideal quarterback is, and he said somebody who can throw like Drew Brees and run like Lamar Jackson. And obviously, Purdy doesn't have the 40 time of Lamar Jackson, but within a 10-yard split, he can move as well as anybody in the league, and that's what really matters to play quarterback. The way that Purdy moves within the pocket is better than any other quarterback in the league, better than Lamar Jackson. His movement ability within the pocket, a step here, a step there, a sense here, a nudge there, a spin here. Top shelf. His pressure to sack ratio, which is a great indicator stat of a quarterback who can raise his ceiling, is off the charts. Number one in the NFL. It's as off the charts as his performance on 3rd and 4th downs. If you have this at the quarterback position, this right here, you are a bona fide Super Bowl contender no matter what else is afflicting your team. Would it be great for the 49ers to continue improving their defense the way that it improved over the course of the game last night? Of course it would be great. Is it 100% necessary? If Brock Purdy is playing at this level, it might not be. But of course they're going to be trying to elevate the other parts of their game. But the bottom line is that they have a clear path to a Super Bowl title at home with 5 straight home wins and a quarterback who is playing at this level. And that's all you can ask for. Now just grab your popcorn and watch. It's going to be Chicago on a short week and then Seattle on January 4th. Now, the 49ers are 3-point favorites over the Bears. And I think that this is tricky for a reason that not a lot of people are talking about. The Bears have an extra day of rest because they played the Packers on Saturday. The 49ers have a short week because they played on Monday. So, and the Bears are a physical team, a good offensive front. It's not going to be easy for San Francisco to corral this run game. The good news for the 49ers is that they actually played the run really well yesterday. They were more ready for, you could tell that they practiced their run defense and they didn't really practice their pass defense, and they were taken off guard. And it was a valuable learning lesson. You can't, there wasn't a lot of tape on Phillip Rivers. Some people thought that, okay, well, the 49ers, now they have tape on Rivers. They're going to do even better than the Seattle Seahawks did. It was the opposite. The fact that the 49ers didn't have more than one game of tape on Phillip Rivers actually meant that they were caught by surprise by all those downfield passes. They have tape on the Bears, and the Bears are going to run a lot. They ran the Philadelphia Eagles out of the building just a couple weeks ago. But the 49ers yesterday, everybody was talking about Jonathan Taylor this, Jonathan Taylor that, Colts run game. Indianapolis, 20 carries, 58 yards, 2.9 per carry. So the 49ers defense, I'll go back to the graphic that I put up on the screen a little bit earlier. 49ers defense tightened up after the first 2 drives when they figured out that Indianapolis was trying to throw downfield on them. And they also stopped the run throughout the course of the entire game. I actually think that the 49ers will match up much better against Caleb Williams than they did against Phillip Rivers, not just because they're going to be more prepared for what Caleb Williams brings to the table, but because he is not a quarterback who gets the ball out on time. He's a guy that runs around and makes some mistakes. And, opportunism has to be the name of the game for the 49ers. They're going to give up yards regardless. We know this is not a dominant defense, but they have to capitalize on takeaway opportunities when they do come. And somebody like Phillip Rivers, who gets rid of the ball quickly, who generally knows exactly where to go with the football, who can orchestrate things at the line of scrimmage. You heard him mic'd up yesterday. That was crazy, especially on the first couple of drives when he was in total command. That's stuff that Caleb Williams can't do. I mean, Caleb Williams is a great athlete, could throw a nice deep ball. Beautiful ball that he threw to DJ Moore to win the game against the Packers in overtime. But he's a scrambler. He's more of an improviser. He can get himself into trouble, especially at this level of play at the NFL, doing all that kind of stuff. And I think that he's going to serve up more takeaway opportunities for the 49ers than they've had in weeks in this game on Sunday. I think this could be a definite plus for San Francisco. But ultimately, again, the bar for this defense is not that high. And we can go back to the tier chart to illustrate why that is. Like the 49ers, they're not going to be a team that's up here like the Jags or the Eagles defensively. At the highest, they're probably going to be where they're at right now, right? They're going to start playing some better offenses, so it's going to be hard to maintain this. But the Colts had a lot of weapons yesterday. That was the number one offense in football before Daniel Jones got hurt. We can't pretend that the Colts were completely devoid of talent. But the 49ers, there's going to be a limit to how high this can go vertically because of the defense. That's why pushing to the very right offensively has been so important for the 49ers, because it has put them in that top tier of football, even without great defensive play. You don't have to be world beaters in the defensive side of the ball when you have a quarterback who can deliver performances like this. How about this passing chart from Brock Purdy yesterday? It was, I think, a perfect performance. The interception was Kendrick Bourne's fault. He even admitted so after the game. Bourne and Purdy were actually arguing about whose fault it was in the locker room. That was funny. But perfect distribution everywhere. 4 touchdown passes on outbreaking routes, which is elite stuff. I mean, some of the ball placement that we saw to Jawan Jennings in particular, where he played the Grinch and he swiped the ball away from the fan. Fan thought for a moment there that she was getting a football, but the answer was no. The touchdown to Jennings was so perfectly placed. I think it was this one right here. I mean, it was from the opposite hash. You got to remember that football fields are over 53 yards wide. And Purdy went the width of the field, cross hash, to put the ball right where only Jawan Jennings could get it. That is such an immensely difficult throw. And the way that he beat the Colts yesterday, I mean, there was such a variety, right? There were 2 outbreakers for Purdy to Jennings and to Christian McCaffrey. There was a 3rd outbreaker to Jake Tonjes that should have been a catch, but they for whatever reason didn't challenge it. Perfect placement on all of those throws. Then there was the rollout throw to George Kittle. I believe that was this one right here. Rollout, cross body, insane throw, perfect timing. Yeah, was it risky? Maybe, but Brock Purdy knows how to mitigate those risks. He's a master at that. And then there was a look the safety off post to Demarcus Robinson. That actually was the first touchdown. I mean, this was Joe Montana type of stuff yesterday for Brock Purdy. And I mean, we've seen better than Joe Montana type of efficiency. This is the number 1 ranked quarterback in the NFL ever since he joined the league in 2022. Number 1. Like, I mean, if you guys don't believe me, I could show you the graphics that I seem to show every single week. And people just have buried their heads in the sand. They have refused to acknowledge how good Brock Purdy has been. They've even attacked me for bringing it up. They get extremely uncomfortable, probably because their fake takes about the NFL draft are threatened by Brock Purdy being good. But no one can ignore it anymore. And it has now absolutely nuked the credibility of so many football analysts. Like, I don't know how you get your credibility back when the best quarterback in the league is undeniably now performing at that level. I mean, I think it's been undeniable for years, but I think nobody can rationally deny it now. I don't know how you get your credibility back after 3 years of ignoring the tape and the data in front of you. I mean, it's an analysis failure of epic proportions at the game's most important position, with so much information at everyone's disposal to be able to get the take right. And I have to say that we were one of the few, it seems, to be getting it right over and over and over again. And I'm not even like trying to credit myself, not trying to credit Mike, because I don't think that it was particularly hard to get right. I think Brock Purdy was topping all these lists. The tape was impressive as hell, yet people were still in denial because of some weird ego-obsessed, ego-invested take in the NFL draftism. I don't know what it was, but boy, did it just destroy the credibility of so many. And last night it felt like so much of this came home to roost when we saw Brock Purdy do what he did against the Indianapolis Colts, which is basically what he has been doing over the course of the past 3 years. Some news, the Pro Bowl has been selected. Congratulations to the 6 49ers who have been named Pro Bowlers. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, Trent Williams, Luke Gifford, special teams. He makes the Pro Bowl. Well-deserved. I talked to Brant Boyer for a little bit in the locker room yesterday, and Brant, he mentioned Luke Gifford as somebody who's been just a linchpin on that 49ers special teams unit. It was so cool to talk to Brant and just hear him credit so many different guys. The special teams turnaround for the 49ers has been historic, from worst to first, and this is the largest special teams EPA turnaround that we've ever seen. They've gone from losing, I think about 4 points a game to gaining about 4 points a game as a unit. So it's been a full touchdowns worth of swing from 2024 to 2025, and it's obviously turned a lot of losses into wins for the 49ers. And 2 special teamers have actually made the Pro Bowl. John Weeks, the long snapper, also, and congratulations to him. He's been doing it for a long time. Was with the Houston Texans for well over a decade, about 15 years with the Texans. And now he's with the 49ers, part of a great operation. Speaking of the operation, poor Thomas Morstead, he hasn't punted since November 30th, so I guess he gets the rest. I saw him stretching out on the sideline while the 49ers were doing their thing yesterday. But Eddie Pinheiro, he finally missed, but it was from 64. I talked to Eddie in the locker room, and he said that he was just trying to kick it straight. So he took a little bit off of his leg strength to make sure he didn't shank it. And he's like, I should have added just a little bit more oomph, because it was the loudest thud that you'd ever hear off the crossbar. But Eddie Pinheiro has been an absolute stud for the 49ers. He's locked in, and just like Brock Purdy, he's in this very tranquil headspace. The bigger the moment, the quieter it seems for Eddie Pinheiro. And so far, there hadn't been a kick that has been too big for him. Even that 64-yarder wasn't too big for him. I mean, he hit the crossbar. I mean, it looked like he had the leg for it. Unbelievable performance from Eddie Pinheiro this season. He's 27 of 28 on field goals, and he remains number 2 in all-time field goal kicking accuracy in the NFL. I'm going to answer some questions. We've got a lot to get through this morning. I'm in the hotel room here in Indianapolis. I got extended checkout just for you guys. So I would appreciate it if you did read the article up on the San Francisco Standard right now. We might have some videos to play. Yeah, I think we actually do. I think we have some good footage to play from yesterday from that locker room. So why don't we take a look at some of that? I loved Trent Williams on Brock Purdy yesterday.
When you're in that huddle, it's only one voice speaking, right? And you got 10 grown men staring at you. And you can't fool grown men, right? And the confidence that he has in that huddle, no matter what phase of the game, those long play calls, just getting everybody where they need to be. He from A to Z, he does it at a really high level. And I say it all the time, he's a godsend, man, for us to get him where we got him. And obviously he's getting what he deserved now, but, you can't even tell he's still the same guy. Still the same guy from his rookie year. He's just a baller, man.
That is probably the highest level of praise that you can get from one of your peers. And then consider the fact that the peer is maybe the greatest offensive lineman in NFL history in Trent Williams. And I was talking to Trent about this in the locker room after the game. It's funny because, I told him, hey, there are these crazy narratives out there that you're going to retire. And he heard those because fans started chanting one more year when he was up on the ESPN post Monday night set. And he said, I'm not going anywhere. I still have a lot left in the tank. So I was telling, Trent, he doesn't follow this stuff as closely online. Good for him, but I have to. It's my job. And I was kind of explaining to him just the idiocy. Like, people just make up fabricated takes about him retiring, and then it's repeated enough times to where it bounces around an echo chamber, and then everybody thinks it's true, while it's news to Trent Williams himself. Like he didn't even know where all this came from. Like, what happened to actually getting information from the source, especially when it comes to something as personal of a decision as retirement goes? But along those lines, we were also talking about just how bad the discourse around Brock Purdy has been. And one conclusion that we came to was that the quality of football knowledge, despite the fact that there's so much information available, has never been lower, because I don't know if it's this tribalistic, I'm going to cheer for a certain player and try to denigrate everybody else. I don't know what the cause of it is. I don't know if it's social media. And even though there's a lot of information out there, there's a lot of people that don't want to look at the full breadth of it. But there's just this toxic, negative spin to everything. And for whatever reason, it's attached itself to the evaluation of Brock Purdy. But the truth lies in how respected football minds view his game. The truth lies in the numbers. The truth lies in the tape. It lies in the production. And you heard Trent Williams just say it right there. The way that he commands the huddle, he called him a godsend. Trent knows that Brock is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the game. And he's been saying the same stuff about Brock Purdy for 3 years now. If only people would have listened over the course of the past 3 years, they would have gotten to the right place and not suffered this colossal analysis failure of the game's most important position. We've got more from the post-game press conference yesterday. Let's watch some more. Mike prepared some good clips for us. We had D. Winters talking about some of the adjustments that the 49ers defense made yesterday.
Yeah, that surprised us a lot, honestly. We saw a bunch of quick game against Seattle, and, we wanted to be, very reactive once we saw, the quick game. So them coming out was a little bit different, and, that's what we had to adjust to. But, Solid did a great job at halftime and, letting us know what kind of looks we were going to get, and, I think we executed pretty well.
So Saleh made those adjustments at halftime, according to D. Winters. I think that some of the adjustments might have even come sooner, but maybe the more formal ones came a little bit later. You could see the result of the adjustments here. 7.5 yards per play for the Colts over the first 2 drives, only 4.1 yards per play after that. Absolutely paves the way for the 49ers to be a Super Bowl team this year. Now, I mean, the journey ahead, again, it only gets more difficult. We have a question here. We have a couple super chats, so I'm going to get to some of this stuff. We have a lot of super chats. Nice. This one right here popped out to me. Bears have a huge rest advantage playing on Saturday. 49ers were on Monday. How do the 49ers handle prep this holiday week? Well, they have a Players' Day off today. They had to fly home as well yesterday, although the Bears are going to have the flight to the Bay Area, so you can't discount that. But Players' Day off. They're back at practice tomorrow. They practice on Christmas Day. So will the Bears, and then they practice on Friday. So it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Thankfully, it's a Sunday night game that gives the 49ers a few more hours. But, we're going to get an update on George Kittle in all likelihood tomorrow. As soon as we get one, I'll be live, or I'll put up a video. He's hoping it, and he doesn't think it's a high ankle sprain, but he's going to put that ankle on ice, and hopefully for them, George Kittle is ready. But at a certain level, they're just going to have to tough this out. And again, this is why it's a luxury to have maybe the game's best quarterback. Purdy's definitely better than Caleb Williams. And despite any rest disadvantages or run game disadvantages that the 49ers have against the Bears, a defensive disadvantage, the Bears force a lot of takeaways. They have 30-plus takeaways to lead the NFL this season. Despite any disadvantages there, the 49ers will be better at the game's most important position, and Brock Purdy is going to have to play as a true neutralizer over the course of this weekend. We have a new member. Thank you for becoming a new member. A couple new members. Thank you. And another member, Grateful Andy, saying, please remember this is all icing and cake, or cake and icing. He's thrilled that we're in the playoffs. This is a rebuilding year. I never thought it was a rebuilding year. I think it was a retooling year. But I think when you have the best QB in football, it's like Brady. Brady with the Pats, they reset that roster a number of times, but he kept them in contention year in, year out. When you have Purdy and you have the veteran core that the 49ers have, they didn't strip down the core. The foundational pillars are still there. When you have that core, you can contend every year. You might not be as strong. I think the 49ers, just imagine how good this team would be if Nick Bosa and Fred Warner were both available, and Mykel Williams for that matter. So imagine where this team would be if those guys were healthy. I mean, they'd be the dominant team in the NFL. They might be undefeated right now. Maybe one loss. I don't know. But, I mean, they've already beaten the Rams and they've beaten the Seahawks without a fully stocked cupboard. So the roster that they put out there in this reloading year has still been really damn good. It just suffered crazy amounts of injury decimation. So, I hate the word rebuilding just because it carries this stigma of, oh, this team's not going to contend. I told everybody throughout the offseason the 49ers were going to contend this year. They had those A-list pillars. I kept on showing you the roster and the yellow highlighted A-list pillars, and I kept on saying it. Listen, Brock Purdy, even last year, was number 7 in QBR. He's going to be right back up there in the top 3 as long as the 49ers stay decently healthy around him. And that's exactly what has happened. Mike says late season bye was a blessing. Williams is playing years younger, and the offensive line in general is opening up huge gaps for Christian McCaffrey. By the way, we've got Christian McCaffrey at 1,000 rushing yards. Congratulations to him. The goal is 0 punts for the rest of the season. They have yet to punt this month. It's been since November 30th that has happened. Somebody asking, will DK Metcalf be suspended for the 49er game? So are you saying the 49ers and the Steelers are going to meet in the Super Bowl? Will DK Metcalf be suspended for the Super Bowl? DK doesn't play for the Seahawks anymore. He plays for the Steelers. But if that was meant to insinuate that the 49ers will be in the Super Bowl, I could appreciate the backhanded humor there. Yeah, the hip drop has to stop. Kittle said that he got hurt on a hip drop tackle yesterday. Once the 49ers win out on the number 1 seed, should they sign a defensive player like Myles Garrett to help them in the playoffs? Sorry, they can't do that. Myles Garrett is under contract with the Browns. The Browns are not going to release him. So if the Browns decided to just release Myles Garrett for nothing, then I'm sure the 49ers could sign him, but they assigned him to a contract. Maybe if we turned off all the governors in Madden and this were a video game. I know that Brock Purdy made it look like a video game last night. I know he's making it look like a video game just in general this season, but no, the 49ers can't just go out and acquire Myles Garrett because they'll feel like it. They're going to have to make it work with the defense they have. Now, good news is that they got Yetur Gross-Matos back yesterday. I thought that he made an impact. Late in the game, Eric Kendricks came on and started playing Mike linebacker. That might be a longer-term replacement that the 49ers make. That was interesting to me in that Tatum Bethune, he left dinged up in this game yesterday. I thought that maybe they might put Kendricks in there at the Sam position, but they didn't run much base at all because the Colts were spreading them out. They ran a lot of nickel, and Upton Stout, who played a good game, was the 49ers de facto third linebacker as the nickel back. So there wasn't an opportunity to see if Eric Kendricks would even play as a Sam linebacker yesterday. Instead, he came in as the Mike linebacker behind Tatum Bethune. I think the 49ers needed every bit of the defensive set of reinforcements that they got yesterday. And I think that in general, the bigger problem yesterday was a schematic one. Well, it wasn't as much of a personnel issue as a schematic issue. They just weren't ready over the first 2 drives for how aggressively Phillip Rivers was passing downfield. And, if it's a problem that Robert Saleh can fix, should make 49ers fans breathe a little easier. If he can make this defense average, 49ers are going to be A-okay. And I think that's exactly what Robert Saleh is doing. He could make this defense out. He did definitely do that over the aggregate of the game yesterday. It just was volatile. It was a topsy-turvy performance. But, boy, what a ride. What a journey this 49ers season has become. Here's the article up on the Standard. I'm going to read a couple excerpts for you as I go here into the comment section and read some of your questions. Thanks for the super chats. I appreciate them. I obviously prioritize those. Oh, we got a new member into the Jerry Rice tier of membership. Appreciate you. Thank you. And now I'm going to go and answer some questions. How about that pick 6 from D. Winters yesterday? I love it. A comment from the Bahamas. This is cool to read. I want to go to the Bahamas. I've never been to the Caribbean. Do I watch any other 49ers shows? No, I don't waste my time. I heard that all the other 49ers shows just copy what I say and then they just spout it off and they act like they made it up. I'm proud that we're the thought leaders of the entire 49ers discourse. What's going to bother me the most is that everybody's going to pretend like they've been saying Brock Purdy has been elite for 3 years now. People are going to pretend like they didn't say what they did over the course of the past 3 years regarding Brock Purdy. They're going to act like it was obvious. Just wait. They're going to try to completely wash away credibility destroying takes that have polluted their feeds and polluted their YouTube channels over the course of the past 3 years. And they're going to whistle along as if nothing happened. But I think viewers are smarter than that. I think viewers will realize the BS because I think that they've recognized the BS for what it is over the course of the past couple of years. I think the vast majority of people have seen how special, how good Brock Purdy is. For that matter, how good Kyle Shanahan is. I mean, the same people who have said that Brock Purdy is not an elite quarterback over the past couple of years have also said that Trent Williams is retiring every offseason. I've also said that Kyle Shanahan should be fired. Also said that Trey Lance should start ahead of Brock Purdy. Probably said that Sam Darnold should start ahead of Brock Purdy. What are the other ridiculous takes? There've been a lot. I mean, there were people that thought that Trey Lance should start ahead of Jimmy Garoppolo. That was bad to begin with. Lance over Purdy was just downright comical. So, I mean, it's not like there's any credibility coming from these sources at all. But the problem is that their takes seem to pollute the online discourse and the online ecosystem to the point where, I think legacies matter. And I think that people used to think about this kind of stuff much more lucidly than they do now. It's taken a Herculean effort from Brock Purdy just to shift the public perception in the correct way. He's better than Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford can do no wrong in the eyes of some of these people. Brock Purdy, he's accused of being a product of the system, Kyle Shanahan's system, yet nobody ever points out that Matthew Stafford is very clearly a product of Sean McVay's system. We actually have a case-by-case, apples-to-apples sample. When Matthew Stafford was in Detroit, he was nowhere near as efficient as he is now in LA with Sean McVay. It's different quarterbacks being treated differently just because of draft order, name value. I don't know what it is. I am done with the bias. I'm here to bring the objective coverage. I'm here to show you the real data. I'm here to actually watch the tape. It was really fun to watch that 49ers performance yesterday. And this is where Brock Purdy is as a quarterback this season. Number 1 across the board except for CPOE. Number 2. I appreciate it, Joe. Thank you. A few more questions. Let's go for this. They're going to make me check out of my hotel room in a few minutes here in Indianapolis, so I don't want to wear out my welcome. But we can run this up for a few more minutes. Mike, is there anything I should get to? Maybe any other videos? Maybe we should hear from George Kittle. Yeah, I do think that hearing from George Kittle is always a smart idea. We have a nice video of George in that locker room yesterday.
Concern level, I don't think it's a high ankle sprain, so, we'll take it one day at a time, and we'll go from there. It happened second quarter. I don't know, whatever. I don't know. We had a drive. I feel like I got hip dropped. Ankle got stuck in the grass or the turf, the cork turf. Really weird field. And, tried to tape it up. Went in the third quarter. Then it just got worse from there. And, that was, if I can't, run very fast or plant, then I think it's a better op for my other tight ends to go in there and make plays.
So we'll get the update on George Kittle as this week progresses. Maybe something today, almost certainly something tomorrow when the 49ers practice again back in Santa Clara. Somebody asked, is Purdy number one in QBR? Yes, he is. That's the highest QBR of anybody over the past 3 seasons. If you got to go back to Mahomes in 2022 for a higher QBR, Mahomes was, I think, 79.0. Purdy's at 75.8, and maybe still climbing. He's going to have a hell of a challenge against Seattle's defense in Week 18. And even the Bears, protecting the ball against the Bears defense is not going to be easy. Challenges galore coming up for the 49ers. But I'm here for it. I'm here for charting this magical journey for San Francisco because it really has turned into that. I will repeat that there was a borderline euphoric feeling in that locker room, and I'll finish up with the article up on the San Francisco Standard. I'll share some of it with you guys, but you should definitely subscribe. Here, we could read through some of it. This to me is crazy. The great irony is that the 49ers, who are now winners of 5 straight and the first team in NFL history to score more than 80 points and not punt a single time over a 2-game span, are in the tantalizing position of needing to win just 5 straight home games to win a Super Bowl, in large part because their head coach, Kyle Shanahan, has been adamant that his team ignore the big picture. I mean, stuff was different in 2022 and 2023. They were a veteran team that was just trying to kick down the door and win the Super Bowl. They did this reset in 2025, and Shanahan actually encouraged this team to look at this on a week-by-week basis. And the 49ers have heeded their coach's message, and I think that's why they've been able to overcome the amount of adversity that they've overcome. They've chipped away over the months. And then they had that special moment in the Marriott, the JW Marriott here in Indianapolis, where they watched the Steelers knock off the Lions to clinch the playoff berth. And Kendrick Bourne talked about how fun it was and how crazy that last play was and how the 49ers were downright giddy. He was downright giddy in the locker room. That euphoric mood translated into the post-game vibe yesterday. And this is what I wrote. The 49ers punctuated that special moment, the Lions loss, with their emphatic victory over Indianapolis. There was a borderline euphoric mood in the locker room. Simon and Garfunkel's 1968 hit, Mrs. Robinson, blared on a Bluetooth speaker. Assistant coaches such as special teams coordinator Brant Boyer, who's engineered at worst the first turnaround of that phase of the game, that again paid dividends on Monday, milled about the room longer than they usually do. There were smiles galore, and there was plenty of pointed acknowledgement of the big picture Shanahan message that's become the thematic backdrop of the 49ers season. The 49ers mindset is 1 week at a time. Tunnel vision. And they maintain that tunnel vision. But I can tell you, because I'm in that room, they are sensing that there's something greater brewing, something greater at play. That is the magic of building momentum in a season. We knew that we were going to have to ride together a little tighter, play a little harder, Trent Williams said. Big-time players making big-time money. We're going to have to make big-time plays. It wasn't going to be a season where we could defer to anybody. You were going to have your best players playing their best. Sign up for the Standard. We'll talk to you soon.